Hello, it's Harper. Welcome to Pages and Reels. Today I am discussing Agatha Christie's novel Evil Under the Sun. I also have a video comparing it to ITV's 2001 TV adaptation, so please have a listen to that too if you're around. Also, spoiler alert, of course, and this discussion was created with the assumption that you've read the book, so if you haven't, it may be difficult to follow. I don't know about you, but there are some main characters in Agatha Christie's novels where you feel like she meant them to be likable, but actually they're deeply unlikable. Some of the characters in her novel Taken at the Flood are examples, and also a few of the characters in this novel. Let me jump straight in and say how much I intensely dislike Captain Kenneth Marshall and Rosamund Darnley and their whole dynamic. I just get this feeling that Agatha Christie wrote Kenneth Marshall in a way that she thought would appeal to the female audience. Like, how noble, how chivalrous is Captain Marshall? He swoops in when all have abandoned that hussy Alina, and see how she mistreats him despite his sacrifice. Isn't he stoic? Isn't he just so admirable? The answer to all those questions is no. Firstly, reading what some of the other characters say about him and how he behaves, it sounds like Marshall has some anger issues. And a person who cannot control their own anger is a dangerous person, in my humble opinion. Someone who snaps, like Marshall is described as having done, is a loose cannon. Also, if he is indeed an army captain, shouldn't he have learned how to control himself? Isn't the army about self-discipline? Secondly, he's not a great father to Linda either. I mean, in what universe did he think Alina would make a good stepmom? And shouldn't you put your kid first before anything else? He was either very stupid or very careless, or most likely both, to marry Alina. Great going, Dad. And don't even get me started on his hero complex. He needs to swoop in and save who he perceives as the poor, downtrodden, fallen woman. Sounds like a fetish to me. That's why he was clearly not interested in Rosamund initially. She didn't need his saving, she was too independent, and it's only when he realized that she would be compliant to his wishes that his feelings turned towards her. I think if I recall, he said that she was of no use to him if she didn't move in to the country with him or something. I mean, what a way to phrase something, or phrase someone's existence of being no use to you. In what other ways do people have to serve you, Captain Marshall? Do tell. Also, I don't approve of people hanging around and passively trying to break apart a couple, no matter how much you may disapprove of their relationship. Sound familiar, Rosamund Darnley? And don't even pretend you actually care about Linda when you just want Kenneth Marshall for yourself. Can't think why, since you have zero chemistry with each other. Kenneth made his choices for a reason, and did you ever wonder why, despite all the time he had with you in the past, he never made a move to marry you? Wonder why that might have been? Also, don't kid yourself into thinking that you would be a good stepmom to Linda. The moment the child tried to genuinely tell you something that was torturing her, what did you do? What did you do? You shut her down and told her to stop thinking about it. Yes, because we all know that's all it takes to stop thinking and feeling about something. Just be told not to. She's an idiot. Rosamund Darnley, I mean. And then what happened? What happened to poor Linda? It actually turned out that you had no idea, you were wrong, and the poor child had to stew in her pain until she couldn't bear it anymore. Nice work, stepmom-to-be. As you can tell, these two vex me beyond comprehension. I don't even know why Marshall decided to marry her eventually. Like, what changed other than she kept telling him Alina was bad news? What exactly did they connect on, aside from going on and on about their past? As Nick Carraway said in The Great Gatsby, you can't repeat the past. In fact, I found the character of Alina Stewart more interesting, especially the whole dynamic with her and the Redferns. So in the book, Alina is meant to be at least 30, And clearly the woman, who is long past teenagehood, still hasn't realised she has terrible taste in men. Despite the constant rejection she receives, she still seems to believe that she's the one who holds the power. You would think after a few rejections, especially after a scandalous one, which caused Mr. Hero Marshall to come swooping in, she would have learned that she's not who she imagines herself to be. Honestly, she sounds developmentally behind in the EQ department. Maybe even the IQ department. And perhaps that's what Poirot meant when he said she was a victim. Vapid to the point you have to ask yourself, is she actually fully developed? In that sense, I thought she was interesting. I mean, to predators like the Redferns, no wonder she was a sitting duck. Despite there being money tied between her and Patrick, she still thought he genuinely fancied her. Overly confident, it seems, of herself. Maybe having been an actress, she didn't understand how reality worked and that it was very different. Moving on, I found myself wanting to know more about Christine Redfern's story. How did she meet Patrick and how did they become such a heinous duo? How does that even happen? Clearly, it wasn't just the money that drew her. We as the audience don't really get to know about their relationship or even if they are a married couple. The only time we get a very brief glimpse into their true dynamic is when she tells Patrick to be careful just before he attacks Poirot. This implies she knows Patrick's character and temper and is trying to control and warn him. But that's about it. We know nothing about them as a couple. It would have been interesting to get a backstory, like we do in Death on the Nile between Jackie and Simon. In many ways, I see Christine as the one who had the upper hand in the relationship, who reined Patrick in when he got too boisterous. And it is possible to me, speculating, that she would have been able to escape the death penalty too. Because remember, she didn't do the actual killing. I guess I should mention here that this novel is an extension to Agatha Christie's short story Triangle at Rhodes, which follows a very similar plot, just with less characters and a few other differences. It's a good story too, even though I've essentially spoiled the end for you in this video. So please have a read of it if you haven't already. I would say the biggest difference to me that stuck out between Evil Under the Sun and Triangle at Rhodes is that in Triangle at Rhodes, Poirot already knows what's up right from the beginning, whereas in Evil Under the Sun, he slowly begins to find out that things may not be what they seem. Triangle at Rhodes is interesting that way because even as the audience, you're not told what Poirot is actually thinking until the very end. Anyway, going back to Evil Under the Sun, Poirot is his iconic self, even without Hastings there to prop his ego up, though Mrs. Gardiner does do that for him, especially towards the end. Poirot is such a unique, recognisable character with all these idiosyncrasies and distinct ways of being. His denouements are such interesting reads, and one of the things that I truly adore about him as a character is his underlying compassion for others. The way he interacts with Linda, and especially his compassion for Alina, which actually leads him to solve her murder. He sees Alina as the multifaceted human being that she is, and not the one-dimensional Scarlet Woman other people see her as. This compassion about Poirot is a core aspect of his character in the entire series, and also he never seems to take anything personally, even though some characters do treat him very disrespectfully, especially at first. I didn't like Linda much, but I understood her and I did feel empathy for her. It's such a child thing to do, to believe that magic can cause murder, and underneath all that brattish, childish behaviour, she was just a lonely girl with a father who didn't know how to look after her properly. Were there any other characters that stuck out to me? I mean, all the characters played a part in the story, but I think that's it for the ones that caught my attention. I guess I should make some comments on the actual plot of the book before wrapping it up. I mean, I guess a murder could be carried out in the way the Redferns planned, but it's a high-risk plan. Christine must have had a very similar figure to Alina to be able to pull it off, but I can't help but feel like there might have been a lower-risk murder plan. On the scale of believability, the murder plot would score low. Also, why don't these characters ever change their plans when they realise Poirot is in the vicinity? I mean, especially if they know he's a famous sleuth, then why don't they reroute and commit the crime when he's not around? He is famous for a reason, so why do you think you can best him? Anyway, despite my rantings, especially about Kenneth Marshall and Rosamund Darnley, Evil Under the Sun is a good solid story and very enjoyable to read. Agatha Christie's characterizations are unmatched, as usual, and clearly I liked it enough to make a video on it. Until next time, bye!